Here are my 3 tips for masterful boxing footwork. Here we go. Now, when it comes to boxing, I really enjoy watching guys who are light on their feet. They like to pivot, they like to move, they like to groove. It's almost like they're dancing, floating out there. Throughout my lifetime, I've been always working on my footwork. Some of you may not like it, some of you do, and a lot of you that do like my footwork and always ask, how am I able to do what I do? These are my 3 tips, all right? Number 1, jumping rope. I will always hammer this down, but when it comes to footwork and being light on your feet, having good footwork to pivot, move, you got to be good on the rope. Jumping rope, this is the staple for every boxer, kickboxer. If you are a striker, you got to be jumping rope, all right? Now, the whole trick for me is this. When you're jumping rope, you have to be light on your feet. You got to be light on your feet. A lot of you ask, how am I light on my feet? How do I jump the rope the way I do? A lot of it is heel, toe, toe, heel. And you got to practice just being bouncy on it, all right? I also do this thing, left, right, open, left, right, open. Somebody asked how you do the crosses. It's extremely simple. I like to coin it crisscross applesauce. Crisscross applesauce. Crisscross applesauce. Crisscross applesauce. That's all it is. After you get the crisscross applesauce, you gotta just be bouncing on your toes. You see how the crossing, you can practice this. This will all aid in getting better footwork, being light on your feet. Crisscross applesauce. Crisscross applesauce. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all it is. Crisscross, crisscross, open. Crisscross, criss, open. Crisscross, criss, open. Once you get that down on the rope with just hours upon hours of practice, you gotta practice just being light on your toes. As you can see, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Get that bounce. I like to call it the boxer's bounce. Just that heel, toe, switching back and forth with your feet. When you're light on your toes, this will really help. Tip number 2, spending time on just moving around. Being light on your feet and just being able to move here and there, you got to spend time just moving around. Don't throw any punches. I suggest 10 minutes before your training session and 10 minutes after your training session. So this could be, you could be at the boxing gym before the class starts, just 10 minutes of just moving around. As you see here, I'm just moving. I'm just really getting in tune with the rhythm in my heart. Then after that, you hit your training session, you try out your moves, you do your sparring, hitting the pads, whatever it is. Then for cool down, 10 minutes of same thing, moving around. If you have a hard time moving around, do this right there. Side to side, side to side, hands down, hands up. You got to get used to just being light on those toes. I don't personally do a lot of cone drills. I never do cone drills. Back when I had my strength and conditioning gym, I did a lot of cone drills, and I did cone drills with my clients, like cone drills, ladder drills. I noticed when you do those fast cone drill, ladder drills, you create the habit of stomping your feet, just being really heavy, because you're trying to zig and zag and you're trying to step within the ladder and whatever the cones. You create the habit of stomping your feet. For someone who hasn't practiced just being light on their feet, when you do like these cone ladder drills where you're cutting and you're trying to move those feet as fast as you possibly can, it creates the habit of stomping. You don't want to stomp. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. I swear that's what the quote is. So I don't do any cone or ladder drills. I just move around. Now, for you beginners, if you're having a hard time, do this. Back and forth, back and forth. Oh, side to side, really. Left to right, left to right. Just kind of getting a skip. Right there, I'll switch stances. So that way I'll get used to in both stances. It's good to train southpaw, unorthodox, regular, whatever you want to call the stances. It's good to have movement, both with your left foot forward or your right foot forward. That's how you got to just be, man, in 2022. Now, moving, move. Again, I suggest 10 minutes before your training session as a warm-up, just moving, not throwing punches. Then 10 minutes after your training session as a cool down, just getting into the groove. Tip number 3, jogging. As a striker, boxer, you're going to be jogging a lot. You should know this. If you are afraid of jogging long distances, you will not make it as a striker. With all this science, all of these strength and conditioning gurus, routines that try to cut out running. Don't ever do that. Running has been in a boxer's training regime since the dawn of time. Don't try to change it. There's so many benefits to it, not only with the win, but on the mental and the spiritual. This is why boxers run for extremely long periods of time, because boxing matches, even kickboxing matches, they are long and they are grueling. You need to train your heart. To train your heart, you got to go on those long runs. Now, twofold. The tip number 3 is this. When I go jogging, I jog at this pace. I'll go like 8 to 10 miles, 5 miles some days. I'll go a little faster. But the trick is to be light on your feet. I'm trying to just glide and be light on my toes. I can keep this pace for 8 miles and just switching, just moving side to side, all right? So to put it all together, tip number 1, jumping rope, working on being light on those toes. Tip number 2, moving, setting some time out during your training sessions just to move and be light on your toes. Tip number 3, jogging and trying to glide. Because you're out there for 3 to 12 miles, depending on how you're running, use that time to practice just gliding, all right? After that, you put it all together. As you can see here, switching up my stances, all right? Try this out. Let me know how it goes. And always remember, train hard and be kind.